Hello, this is the lecture note about week 3. The topic is the 3 dimensions of public management. So today I'm going to review briefly about what we learned from last class, and then I will explain the chapter 2, the textbook Public Management 3 dimension, and I almost skipped the optional part written by Jeremy Hall. This is just about practical guide to strategic management reforms. I think I would rather you might read by yourself. So we need to think about again what is public management. So according to the author, they said public management means the process of ensuring that the allocation and use of resources available to the government are directed toward the achievement of lawful public policy goals. So it implies that the definitions obviously see that public managers can be both creator and creator. This is what exactly I asked you to answer the discussion question from the last week, right? So political legal forces to create public organizations are some different things. Like by design, executive authority in governments is shared among the executive, legislative, and judicial branches and level of government. And also public management is relatively constrained and necessarily governed by incentives that are basically political. So we can think about the political rationality embedded in the public sector. And also we are watching some cases regarding market failure. This is the main reason why public sector involved in the public services and goods and other things for citizens. And next, there's a difference between public management and public administration. There are two different contradictory views about the relationship between PM and PA. Some scholars said that these two are very similar, but sometimes the management it implies might be larger than administration. But in this area, there are Greek scholars like Leonard White, Fayol, Martin, Paul Van Riper, and Dwight Waldo. On the other hand, there are different views about the relationship between PM and PA. They said that PA, public administration, might be more larger construct than PM because some public management can be seen as a novel and subordinate or specialized field under the theme of PA. So for this observation has been supported by Hal Rainey, he's also a great scholar, James Perry, Ken Kramer, and Mark Moore. And next, there are some domain regarding public management. So in this diagram, there are 3 different parts: policy making, leadership, and politics. These 3 things, including public management, they are intertwined in the public sector. This is obviously obvious picture what we learned from the last class. So I'm going to skip this. And next, I'm going to briefly explain about chapter 2. So I'm basically explaining from the author's perspective and text because I think it's important to keep in mind issue to contemplate 3-dimensional approach to PM. So of course there are 3 dimensions are structure, culture, and craft. Yeah, this is the figure describing 3-dimensional approach. And as once again, I will explain about the case of Hurricane Katrina and Rita. Oh, there's a typo here. There should be Rita, not Rita. Sorry for that. So in this case, we need to think about there was a politics about public work spending by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and of course there are politics about the intergovernmental relations. So in terms of the policy side, there are some policies. There were policies regarding governmental responsibility for emergency management. Just the basic topic underlying this example. So about this case, there were some challenges. So we record the challenges, what we already learned from the last class. There were lack of effective emergency procedure, and lack of preparation, lack of role, and lack of plans. And there were no, specific culture. For example, there were the individual working in the agency, there were no coordination and no cooperation between Department of Health and Human Services and Department of Homeland Security. And also, in that case, there's no leadership. There might be a leadership, but there were lack of leadership, strong leadership, and there were lack of goal setting, and also there were lack of trained personnel experts. That's the main reason why there was a problem embedded in this example. So turning to the three-dimensional approach, the first dimension, which is structure dimensions, basically this can be defined as a lawfully authorized delegation to administrative officials of the authority and responsibility to take actions on behalf of policy and program objectives. So the structure basically encompasses how a level of government is organized by law into departments, commissions, and other independent offices with specific authority to act. And also it includes the agency, bureaus, and regional and local offices within departments or commissions that have been created by law, executive order, and duly authorized managerial decisions. So when we think about and applying this dimension to the Columbia accidents, for example, for shuttle program managers, there are basically two responsibilities in terms of the structure side. First one is meeting flight schedule. The second one is the safety of flights, maintaining the safety. So in that case, these manager level people could do their own authority choose to take chances with the safety of the flight in order to maintain flight schedules as well as stay within budget. In addition, there are no authorized communication channel within NASA for views on issues concerning safety. So NASA's structure seems due to give senior officials no opportunity to make a different decision about the flight. So, from this dimension of the structure side, we can say in Colombia case, there were only rigid authority and rules and forces of law. So in this dimension also, there are some perspective regarding how you can see the structure of public organization. So basically, the unit of analysis from this perspective, the focus might be structure, function, and process by which the work of the organization gets done. And next, there are different dimensions regarding culture. It can be defined by the institutional values. So basically, an institution may be defined as an organization infused with durable values. So institutionalization is the process by which the members of an organization acquire values that go beyond the technical requirements of the organizational text. And also in PA field, the culture has widely seen as shared norms, beliefs, and standards of conduct that provide meaning, purpose, and a source of motivation to individuals working within an organization. And also the author from the textbook, they mentioned that basically this culture can be changed through personal recruitment, training, promotion, and more monitoring or evaluation, reporting, allocation of responsibility, which means decentralization, or the resource allocation and support by leader. And next, applying this dimension named culture to Columbia accidents, we can see, the author found that their strong organizational culture might be a good thing or bad thing. Because according to one report cited in the textbook, people who work at NASA have a legendary can-do attitude, which can contribute to the agency's success because the mission of this agency is to enhance the safety and as well as to maintain the flat schedule within the budget. So that might be helpful. But on the other hand, such culture can also cause some problem because some people have difficulty admitting there's something wrong. So they cannot say something wrong. They shouldn't be said this not good. So in that case, there might be a problematic. So the one working at NASA want to be the one to stand up and say, we can make date, we can make these things. So that might be cultural issue. So this is very similar as the previous case about Hurricane Katrina, because in that case we remember there was no communication, there's a lack of cooperation across the departments. So maybe this is the same problem in this case because at NASA there are two different groups which are managers and technicians. So basically the managers can be categorized as more political and policy types who are concerned with budget, time frame, or performance in some ways, but on other hand, the technicians, the scientists, they are more engineers, so they might speak a different languages. So between these two groups, there might be no communication because of the organizational culture. And also there is better example, the distinction between the FBI and CIA. Basically, FBI was known as traditionally a domestic agency, but the CIA was traditionally an international agency, so FBI handled major national law enforcement activities within the borders of the United States, but CIA held as their domain exclusively matter extended beyond the border of the United States. But after 9/11 happened, what we've seen is that the culture in each agency was changed because before 9/11 they was just defend their organizational culture to maintain the separation without any communication within or across the agency. But after 9/11 they started to communicate with each other to share information, get to more cultural elements. So this is basically about some structural change as well as the cultural change. And also with some massive reorganization into the Department of Homeland Security after 9/11 terrorist attacks, so that might be another example regarding the structural dimension as well as cultural dimension. And next, craft. This is the third dimension that can be defined as the ways public managers attempt to influence government's performance through their own personal effects in the form of directive activity. So when we apply this dimension to Columbia accident, we can think about that the managers within NASA, they just ignored what happened, and then they just ignored the warning by the engineers and technicians. So they didn't take their advice of threats to the safety of the shuttle program in general and ignored just technical problems regarding Columbia flight in particular. So after this accident, what we changed is that they just restrict the independence of the agency and they try to create an example implementation evaluation team that would be empathic to NASA. So this is what stands for three-dimensional of public management. Structure, culture, craft, there are different concepts underlying of each dimension, so you can read by yourself. The key point here is to understand, recognize what constitutes structure, what constitutes culture, and what constitutes craft here. That's the basic. So each dimension maybe contribute to performance improvement. In some ways, they can be contribute to a solution, or maybe they are an opportunity for adjusting some problems. So overall, this three-dimension approach is particularly useful for public management analysis because basically it related well to public debates about management issues. So according to the author, they said that the structural dimension is very similar to the well-known regional legal perspective. first set forth by Max Weber a long time ago. So the basic of public makers' preference for organizational solutions to maintain problem. And next, in terms of the cultural dimension, basically it reflects the growing popularity of the idea that steering government involves far more than demanding compliance with directives by public employees who inevitably have mind, motives, and interests and values of their own. And next, the craft dimension might reflect the tendency in American public life to assign responsibility for success and or failure to a specific individual and to create heroes and any scapegoats. So I'm sure for the next few weeks, I think that from week 6, we're going to cover each dimension in more detail. And next, this is about the practical guide to strategic management reform written by Jeremy Hall, but I'm going to skip this part and you can just read by yourself. There's an introduction and basic concept, and this is about how major reforms have been developed in the PA field. So here there are policy process reform. They have the 6 basic steps from problem emergency through the evaluation. The last reform is named the policy analysis like this. And between these basic beginning and last reform, there are 2 main concepts Jeremy Hall pointed out. First one is performance measurement. The second is evidence-based practice. For each, there are different steps like this. And this is the relationship to stages of the policy process like this. And then, and here, according to the Jeremy Hall, for the process of policy formulation, usually the public sector tend to use evidence-based practice. But for the implication stage, the public organization tend to use performance measurement like this. And next I'm going to skip this cycle and again skip, and this is kind of the past analysis between among 3 different management analysis. First one is strategic planning and performance management and program evaluation. They seems very often each other, intertwined each other. This is about just detail. I'm going to skip the detail, but you can read by yourself. And also Jeremy pointed out there are some weaknesses when public sector use the evidence-based practices like this. And there are some guidelines and conclusion. It implies that for more effective result-driven strategy management, some tools, the Jeremy Hall pointed out that there are different tools should be worked together. That's the main point, and the organizational efficiency will be enhanced by reducing the cost of each practice separately. And organizational effectiveness will be enhanced. It should be put D, I'm sorry for the typo, by something this. So for next discussion question, I made this question. Why did the United Nations oil food program in Iraq fail? Based on the 3-dimensional approach what we covered in this class, discuss it. So like the way what NASA Columbia accident case has analyzed in the text, but you can just discuss your opinion. But the thing is already this case already provided in the textbook page 61 through 64, so you can read the detail. And also I already provided the YouTube website. This is about this case, so you can watch the program before answering the question. And also I need you answer this question by next Thursday. Thank you.